What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to give you a good summary of what the data points are truly saying and where it might be going from here. So I'm going to go over all the stuff you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So looking at the intraday chart, it doesn't necessarily know where to go. And it is unfortunately largely brought on because of the CPI data that did come out. CPI data is showing a little bit more of a potential uptrend, as you can tell right here. The forecast was 6.2, did come in at 6.4. The month over month was flat, but if you do look at the data, it goes to show that the other basket items did in fact go down 1.5% versus energy 2% up. So in my opinion, at least on a month over month, I think this is a little bit more of an overreaction. Of course, people are just looking at the facts, at the straight numbers, not necessarily behind the scenes. So this is what's causing a little bit more of a tentative sell-off. But despite that, though, there was some pretty good news that did come out yesterday. So it looks like Lucid Motors wins contract to develop battery modules for Defense Department. In here, though, it doesn't necessarily talk on price or how much they're going to potentially get for revenue, but it goes to show that Lucid has phenomenal technology. I think that's a very important takeaway from this article. Of course, even though it doesn't necessarily touch on revenue or anything like that on what Lucid's going to get out of it. But no matter what, though, I think that's a fairly positive thing. As far as the latest round of 13Fs. But based on my last update, Vanguard increased their position, but there's a lot of big players here that all also increased their position. Obviously, we already do know behind the scenes there is the PIF, which increased their position by 9%. So I think we already knew that did happen. But BlackRock did actually increase their position as well. And unfortunately, there is a lot of big institutions in Lucid right now, so it's actually hard to scroll. So I'll just quickly go to BlackRock right here. So BlackRock increased their position by 11%, 12%. So in general, though, during Q4, there was a lot of fear. And the fact that BlackRock increased their position in Lucid can be seen as a extremely bullish aspect. So let me know your thoughts on that. Based on what is happening both on the secondary market and dark pool, it goes to show that big money is starting to buy back in. So clearly they're also looking at the data points behind the scenes and seeing it as a pretty big overreaction. As far as the transactions on the secondary market, this aspect is a little bit lower, but there is still that 1.02 million, 1.06 million. Even from yesterday, there was a lot of big buying getting in as well at 7 million, or at least 7.02 million in as far as a transaction, 1.24 and 2.14 million. So I think behind the scenes, a lot of big buying, and I think in general, just a lot more optimism for the upcoming Q4 earnings, which in case you guys do not know, is coming out February the 22nd. And I also anticipate after the earnings to be disclosed, there is going to be a lot more positive analyst ratings. So the last one, as you can see, is Morgan Stanley at $5. And of course, nobody wants to see that $5. Citigroup at 12, CFRA at 8. But in all reality, I do anticipate it to be more so around the 20. That's what analysts should be giving, because when analysts are giving ratings, it is for the next 12 months. So I think at the end of the day, at least 21-ish or at least 20s should be a very realistic target. My own interpretation, I'm not a financial advisor though, but that's something to really watch for during the upcoming earnings. I'll give you a quick update on shorts and what they are doing. Short score currently is 83, utilization is 100%. As far as what shorts are doing currently, midway, I think is about 2 hours in the trading day, increasing roughly about 540,000 shares. So again, they're trying to bring the pain a little bit. 133 million shares is being shorted overall right now. 20.56% is the percentage of the free float being shorted. So that's gone down quite a lot though, from roughly about 25% give or take. Cost to borrow average is at roughly about 16% give or take. So I think at the end of the day, it isn't necessarily going to have a squeeze unless something surprisingly happens, which most likely, given Lucid's nature, they don't like to really surprise us in a very, very positive way. Generally, when news or positive news has come out, it's always been on very much bearish days, so it doesn't necessarily get the full amount of momentum that it should. But based on the technicals, I'll give you a good representation of what is being done on that. So I do have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, Bollinger Bands, RSI, stochastic, and momentum. Momentum momentum number retail investors have been flat the last couple days, but generally has gone out ever since the 27th. Stochastic went from very much overbought to now extremely oversold, so it is currently at 22, but you do see that deviation, so red line above the black, insinuating that it wants to go down a little bit, at least a little bit more of a bearish sentiment. RSI is currently at 50, and on the actual chart though, it did break right below that central Bollinger Band, so hypothetically it is just going to be wedge bound between here unless there is a good catalyst to bring it back up, or vice versa for it to go down here. But I do anticipate it to be wedge bound between that 864 and that central one at 1030, give or take. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out in the comments as well if you've been buying, selling, holding, whatever it might be. Give yourself a shout out. If you do like my Lucid content, want to support the channel, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.